People of the internet, welcome back. In this video I'm going to be talking about hearing aid tips. I've got my hearing aid here. I've had my hearing aid for over a year now, so I should be pretty well versed in using hearing aids. But of course, if you've used hearing aids for 20-30 years and you've got any tips for me, please leave them in the comments. My first set of tips are about your ear molds and cleaning your ear molds. Every single week, definitely take your ear mold off the tube if you've got behind the ear hearing aids. So you have it on the tube like that. Take it off, wash it really well with just soap and water, washing up liquid, and let it dry completely and put it back on. Every single day you want to be using a damp cloth and wiping your ear mold really well, because it's just, there's nothing worse than putting a sticky, horrible ear mold back in your ear. And if you don't take your ear mold off regularly to clean it, the ear mold can get really stuck onto the tube, and then it's really difficult to get it off when you need to change the tubes. Also, when you've taken your ear mold off, give the end of the tube a really good wipe. And if I've got a little tool thing that I can use to get inside the end of the tube and clean it out really well, and that makes such a difference. And it makes your tubes last longer because they don't get blocked, and it also just stops it being disgusting and dirty. Why would you want dirty hearing aids? Next tips are about feedback. If you're struggling with feedback and you have the generic domes on the end of your hearing aids, you don't have a custom ear mold that your audiologist has fitted specifically to your ear, I would recommend getting a custom ear mold. Custom ear molds whistle a lot less than the domes because they make a more tight seal with your ear, so there's no space for the sound to get out and get back into the microphones, which is what causes that whistling sound. If you've got a custom ear mold but it's a bit loose and that's how the sound is getting out, your audiologist can send it to a lab to get it coated for you, and that makes it just kind of bulks it out a bit, and that should help with the whistling. For me, I've used a couple of different types of ear molds, and the ones that have worked best for me is this one, and well, it's not as fun colours as the other one I've had. It's a softer material, and that softer material, I think, means that it whistles less when I'm talking or moving my mouth, which is what the issue I had before. For me, the softer material works better. Maybe if you're struggling with that, maybe that's something to try. And if you're really struggling with whistling and you've tried everything to do with the ear molds, it could be the programming. An audiologist can often change the program to help your hearing aid stop whistling. You can ask them about that if it's still a problem for you. My next tip is about the tubes. If you have BTE hearing aids, which is this type, what I have, change the tubes as soon as they start to get stiff. Don't wait until they absolutely 100% need changing, because if they're really hard, it's really difficult to get them off the ear hook. I actually, on one of my hearing aids, I had to get a new ear hook bit because when I let the tube get too hard, and when I took it off, it snapped the end off the ear hook, and I need to get a new ear hook, which is this bit. Also, learn to change the tubes yourself. It's not hard to do, and it saves you trips to the audiologist, saves you a lot of hassle. It's not hard. You can just buy the tubes online. Just make sure you know which size you need to get. I would highly recommend learning to change the tubes yourself, and it means you'll do it more often, so you have fresher, nicer tubes. Because why would you not want fresh, nice tubes? And yeah, ear hooks. If you do end up breaking the end of an ear hook, or it starts to get old or cracked, don't worry, they can be replaced. You haven't completely broken your hearing aid, and it's not the end of the world. You don't need a new hearing aid, you can just replace that bit. Next tips, batteries. Always keep batteries with you everywhere you go. I have a pack in my handbag, I have a pack in my backpack that I take to university, I have a pack in my car, I have packs of batteries everywhere. You never want to be caught without batteries. Also, if you have hearing aids with rechargeable batteries, or I have a cochlear implant with a rechargeable battery, always take your charger with you. Always take, for me with my cochlear implant, I can change the battery with another rechargeable battery. Always just make sure you've got spares of everything, so you can avoid the chances of yourself being in a really embarrassing, awkward scenario. When you change your battery, my hearing aid has a low battery alarm, so I know when it's about to run out of battery. When I hear that, I get my new battery out and I take the sticker off and I leave it for 5-10 minutes before I actually put it into my hearing aid. I don't know if it actually works, but I've read online that helps your batteries last longer, and hearing aid batteries are quite expensive, so I want to keep them working as long as possible, so I recommend doing that. Also, I recommend spending the money on really good quality hearing aid batteries. It does make a difference to get the more expensive ones, and yeah, they are quite expensive, but long term they last longer and the environmental waste is less. So I don't think it actually ends up being more expensive because they last longer and it's more convenient because you don't have to keep changing them all the time. Maybe that's less of an issue if you have more mild hearing loss because your hearing aid doesn't have to use as much power. But for me, I have the blue 675 batteries, which are really big, and I have a very powerful hearing aid, which means they go through power a lot. For me, it's definitely worth it to buy the more expensive batteries. Next section is about the features and the connectivity on hearing aids. I strongly recommend learning the features, learning how to use them, and making sure that you remember to use them, because there are so many things built into hearing aids nowadays which can make your life so much easier. If your hearing aid has a telecoil but doesn't have Bluetooth, you can connect it to your phone. They're about £20. They're like ear hooks that then go onto a 3.5mm headphone jack that you can then plug into your phone or computer and listen to music or listen to phone calls through that. It definitely does make a difference streaming sound directly, as opposed to just trying to hold your phone up to your ear and hear it. That is something that works for me. My hearing aid and cochlear implant has Bluetooth, so it connects directly to my phone, which makes life so much easier. If there's ever a phone call or anything, I have it streamed directly and it makes everything much better to hear. I do still struggle a bit on phone calls, but it is better than what it would be without that. I would recommend finding out if you can get some sort of radio aid or external microphone. I have the Cochlear mini microphone and I also have a Phonak Roger On microphone. I love the Phonak Roger On microphone. I sing its praises in virtually every video. If you can get one of those through your work or through write it off as a business expense or something, definitely get one of those. They are quite expensive to buy if you have to pay the money out of pocket. They're about £600. You can get the older version, which was the Phonak Roger Pen. You can get that secondhand on eBay for £200-300. It is a bit of money, but it does make a big difference if you can afford it or get someone else to pay for it for you, like I did through my university, is how I got mine. External microphone can make a massive difference to your hearing experience and how well you can hear in background noise. I would also recommend, with the technology, especially with remote microphones, make sure you've practiced with a friend at home or something before taking it out into the real world, because a lot of the time these technologies are kind of designed by tech people. They're not always the most intuitive or user-friendly, because for the tech people who have designed it, it's obvious how to use it, but for us regular people, sometimes it requires a bit of practice and a bit of patience. Definitely make sure that you've read the instructions and practice with a friend before trying to use it in public, because otherwise what can end up happening is you just end up really stressed and it makes things more difficult rather than easier, which is the entire point of it. Yes, so I would also recommend advocating for your hearing loss. I don't advocate being... I recommend trying to learn with being comfortable with letting people see your hearing aids, or being comfortable telling people that you have a hearing loss, because a lot of the time, if you've got hearing aids, people will eventually know, and if they think that you are really insecure about it, they might not want to mention it, or if you're comfortable, other people will be comfortable. If you're really embarrassed about it, that can rub off on other people and overall make your life feel more embarrassing. I know it's easier said than done, but advocate trying to be as confident as possible about your hearing loss and your hearing aids. And I also recommend telling people soon after you meet them that you have a hearing loss, and tell them how they can help you with that. And also it just gives people the understanding of the fact that you have this difficulty, rather than them just assuming that you're really rude or ignoring them, or you just are really loud and obnoxious. Because often if you're deaf or hard of hearing, you will speak quite loudly. I think that's a very common thing, and societally that's seen as you being kind of obnoxious or annoying or really over enthusiastic, which you might not be. It's just because you can't hear your own voice, so you naturally speak a bit louder. If you tell people that you're deaf or hard of hearing, they will hopefully be more aware of that and not make exceptions for you, but just be a bit understanding of the fact that you don't experience the world exactly the same way they do. Things that might be obvious to them might not be obvious to you. And I think it just leaves a better impression and gives people more insight and understanding of you. And yes, that's always a positive, having people understand you and raise awareness of hearing loss in general, so when they meet other people in the future who may not be as confident about their hearing loss, that they will be able to understand more and be more aware. Thank you very much for watching. This has been a bit of a rambly video. As you can probably tell, I don't really know what I'm talking about half the time. Let me know if you have any more tips or suggestions for other videos you'd like to see, or anything in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye!